me ask you, I mean, you, Robert, you were 9 when your uncle John F. Kennedy was assassinated. You were 14 when your father was assassinated. They're very formative years. I've got 3 sons who both, all 3 of them came through those ages. Very formative years for such cataclysmic things to happen. What impact do you think those 2 huge events had on your life?
Well, I think they were national traumas, and they were part of the national traumas. There were basically kind of 5 or 6 traumas: Martin Luther King's death, my uncle, my father, the Vietnam War, and 9/11 and COVID, that pushed our country in a bad direction down the road to be, the military-industrial complex and to becoming kind of a surveillance state at home. But from my own personal point of view, my mom told us something when we were really young, told me something when one of my brothers died. And I said to her, does the hole that they leave in you when they die, does that ever get any smaller? And she said, no, it never gets any smaller. But our job is to grow ourselves bigger around the hole by taking the best parts of that, the best virtues of that person who died, and trying to incorporate them into your own life, into your own character as part of the mourning process. And that builds you bigger as a person, so the whole proportionally gets smaller. And I think all of us in my family tried to do that. We were also schooled from when we were very little to never complain. That my mother would say to us, there are kids in Harlem and in Watts and in Compton who lose their mother and their father, and they don't have the family we have, and they don't have the educational opportunities, and everybody takes their licks in life, and you have to have a mission, and you have to keep moving. Take the best parts of that person.
Let me ask you about your father then. Do you feel, he was, for many people, the greatest president America sadly never had?
My uncle. Oh, my father.
Your father. What do you think you've gained from him? And do you feel his spirit guiding you now as you run for president?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time, I think, unlike other members of my family who many of them are so shattered even to this day that they can't really think about my dad's death or my Uncle Jack. But I've spent a lot of time kind of reading all the literature and studying their lives, and I'm constantly delighted and surprised by how much of their values have withstood the test of time. And I think, my campaign right now is about recalling America to those values.
And what are they? Summarize them.
Well, all of the kind of traditional values of the Democratic Party, which are free speech, a love for the Constitution, protecting the environment, the Purple Mountains majesty for our children, protecting that government has a role protecting the rights of minorities and for people who are underrepresented in the political process, women's right, bodily autonomy, that smaller government is and more freedom is always better. The word liberal means freedom, and this idea that democracy and that freedom from a totalitarian system fosters human growth and human creativity. So a love of the arts, which is the highest aspiration of democracy. My uncle used to say that nobody really remembers the names of the generals in the Peloponnesian Wars and the battles, but everybody remembers the poems of Aeschylus and the plays of Sophocles and the art and the sculpture and the literature, the beauty of the architecture of ancient Greece, and that really is the ultimate aspiration of a democratic society, to create things that are enduring and that elevate the human spirit.